This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. It's about 9 in the morning, 3 minutes after. It's the 20th of August. Our weather is taming a little bit. 81 now, 95 high. Yesterday we hit 100. It was grueling. Even in the evening, it was rough. I couldn't get the dogs, the little dogs out, and because they don't do that great in the heat until 8 o'clock or so at night. You know, we're on our way to better weather though. Tomorrow the same, Thursday the same. Then Friday we go to 94, Saturday 93, Sunday 92, 92, and then Monday, and then Tuesday next week, and Wednesday 91 high, which for us is easy. And then it even goes to 90 on Thursday. So maybe the heat is over, which is very early. I wonder what's going on. Is our electricity going to go out or something? I don't know. I don't see that as something, real here, but I haven't been shown that. The weather usually tapers off in September. Perhaps our prayers are working. Keep them up. Pray for cooler weather in my area, please. It's punishment weather, right? I believe. Okay, so what we're going to cover today. There was a truck bomb suicide attack in Tel Aviv that we say it failed. And now the headlines in Israel are saying that Hezbollah and Iran were behind it. Now this is different. Israel is publicly announcing to the people that Iran was behind this. Now Hamas is saying that they're going to do more suicide bomb attacks. Now you have to understand, I lived here many years ago and then left and came back. I've been here quite a few years, this time quite a few. And they used to blow buses up, okay? Now, the jerk would go on the bus, the terrorists, with a bomb in a purse or a package or a satchel or something like that, And they would blow the bus up with a lot of people in it. And he would sometimes try to get off the bus, but later on that didn't work because the bus drivers are trained in terrorist countermeasures. They normally carry a pistol, and the people knew, and they were told to be careful of suspicious packages being left on the bus. So if they saw the jerk leave a package, a satchel, a backpack, whatever, they would either throw the package off the bus, or they would scream and yell, the driver would stop, they'd evacuate the bus, whatever. So they got to the point where they'd blow themselves up with the people. Now, the deaths were rather high because the bus would act as a compression chamber with the force of the blast, and many would get injured and dead. Now, today it could be worse because many of these buses, especially going in the hot areas, West Bank or whatever, are armored. They have bulletproof windows and the body is armored. So that would keep the percussive forces in even a lot more. Israel will not put up with this. This headline is, I believe, designed to build sentiment up against Iran for an attack on Iran. Okay. We're going to talk about the ceasefire and the behind-the-scenes games that are being played with that. And we're going to talk about what happened last night in Hezbollah, which was in Lebanon. Hezbollah we had tremendous victory last night. And we're going to talk a lot about America's military forces being moved into the region last night. Okay, some heavy stuff. Yeah, correct. And we're going to get into it, okay? But rest assured the attack on Iran is coming, and I can't tell you if it's going to be this week, next week, the week after. I don't know, but it's really heated up. Okay, and also we're going to cover 3 government agencies in America came to the conclusion simultaneously that Biden committed offenses in office that are impeachable. So I'm not going to cover this in the main broadcast in a few minutes. I'll do it now. Obama turned against Biden. Now, some of you don't believe he's a heavy influence. Some of you people do. Do I have actual proof that Obama is controlling or influencing or, doing whatever with Biden? No, I don't. Could it be just a conspiracy theory? Of course it can. What do I personally think? In my personal opinion, it's real. So, Biden and Obama, Biden was resisting Obama. Okay, Obama was telling him to drop out of the race. He didn't want to drop out of the race. I believe now Obama and probably many others in the government are telling Biden that he needs to resign. And he probably does, in my opinion. And they really want him to take one for the party. And he doesn't want to, apparently. I mean, that's obvious, right? He's saying, I'm going to stay there till the next president comes into office. They're concerned about Kamala going up against Biden. Okay? Now, that's, like some guy that took boxing lessons for a year trying to get in the ring with Tyson. Oh, Trump is very, very good at campaigning and debates. He's no match for Kamala. Not at all. Okay? And with what's going on in the world, I think in the long run, maybe it'll be close, but if it ever comes to pass, if prophetic time allows for that, which I doubt, Trump would win, I think. Now, what is the game plan here? If Biden resigns and says, well, my health, whatever, right? And that makes Kamala the president and the Speaker of the House the vice president. The vice president doesn't have a tremendous amount of power in America, okay? So Kamala would then be a seated president running against Trump. Now that pushes Kamala up in the polls, especially if there's wars going on. People, the cry is going to be, we don't want to change the administration in the middle of wars. And there are wars, I mean, not a lot, Ukraine, Russia, little skirmishes and stuff, but if real wars are going on, like missiles, artillery, bombs, then they could use that argument quite effectively. It would work to some extent. Now, because the new guy would want to come in and change the generals and the Pentagon, and all that. It would, it has some validity. Israel follows that rule of thought, but for a different reason. Israel follows it because the Muslim terrorist nations surrounding us would interpret a change of the prime minister, which is the equivalent of the U.S. president. Israel has a president, but he's equivalent to the Secretary of State, has extremely little power. They don't have a vice prime minister or a vice president in Israel. So the Muslim terrorist nations would interpret a move like that as weakness in Israel and push forward with more attacks. And that's really what deters Israel. The people don't like making changes. They should, but they don't. That's how they've been trained and taught. And that's how the Middle East works. And if you don't live in the Middle East for a number of years, you're not really going to understand what's going on. And if you don't, I'll go further. If you don't live in the Middle East for many years, and you're not a spirit-filled believer, and you don't know your Old and New Testament, you're never going to understand what's going on. Okay? You'll think you understand, but you don't. So why would they do this? Because it gives Kamala a tremendous edge in the polls. I mean, it would really help her. Now, to take it further, listen, they come up with some war victories, like they knock out the Houthis, Hezbollah, Iran, and the Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria, and they take back the oil fields that they had, which Syria took back from them, and stuff like this, right? Now, we could add to that possibly a war with Russia. I don't know yet. Okay, so that could be, I can't give you a written guarantee. It's a hunch I have, and I think it's a workable theory. That might be what's going on, but I don't know for sure. I can't tell you that, okay? Maybe they don't want to do an Article 25 and throw Biden out for his health because it would be hard. Biden would bring in doctors that say, no, this is absurd, the guy's fine, and they would have doctors, it'd be a confusion, So they using this, not that I think they definitely going to impeach and throw him out of office, but it's definitely on the table. You can't deny it at this point. It's on the table for sure. And whether or not the Congress is going to pick it up and run with it, it would have to go from in the House first. We don't know yet. Okay? We don't know. It could be a shot across the bow for Biden to say, okay, this is getting bad. There's a lot of people in the Democratic Party that want me out. And, if I get impeached, well, when they file impeachment, it means impeached. But if he gets found guilty of these impeachable offenses, then he gets thrown out of office. He's no longer the president, and immediately, a minute later or a second later, Kamala, within a matter of hours, I guess, they swear her in as president, and the Speaker of the House is the vice president. And that would get them where they want to go, okay, for the election. Now, they know that if Trump wins the election, he's going to come after them with a vengeance. Trump's going to change the FBI, the leaders, the Homeland Security, Pentagon, NSA, CIA, the military, everything is going to evolve around Trump's people. And he has an axe to grind with them. Trump has not gone to jail. And, some of these things they did to Trump, like in New York City, are pretty absurd, but he will, knowing Trump, in my opinion only, he would go after them, and that could mean a lot of them go to jail. So they're desperate, and they want to take every advantage they can to make sure they get a Democrat in the White House in the next election, which they believe is going to happen. They don't believe in prophecy. Okay? So there you have it. And that can be serious because we don't know what Kamala will do with Israel. And we do know that America will turn against Israel. We see things of this in Jeremiah 50:51 that are very clear. Biden has not really turned that much against Israel, denying weapons and forcing humanitarian aid and, take it easy, don't kill civilians. That's not exactly seriously turning on Israel, but it does cause Israeli soldiers to die more than they should. So there you have it, okay? There you have it. So that's what this whole thing could be about. They're not exactly going to impeach Biden yet. They're going to give him some time to think about it. So he could go out, they'll take him out in glory. Well, his health failed. He's a great man. He was a great president. We'll put paintings of him, make him a statue or whatever, right? They'll do all that, It's not his fault. He got sick. He served the public so many years in the Senate. He's a great man, and all of that stuff. And Kamala will blow kisses at him and say how sorry she is and all of that stuff. Kamala would probably very much like to be seated in the Oval Office as the head of the country. They don't have another option. Maybe she doesn't like it, but she's there. And looking at this person when it goes around campaigning, the Kamala thing seems to like what what it's doing. It likes to, and I'm calling it for a reason. Some of you know that is enjoying it. Okay. So that's my analysis on that. What I'm going to do now, there's going to be a whole lot of war intel and news and all kinds of stuff coming up. Much of this you're not going to get in the media. Okay? So I'm going to jump into the chat right now, or the live stream, whatever we want to call it, and make sure we got sound and picture. Stuff coming up. Much of this you're not going to get in the media. Okay? So I'm going to jump into the chat right now, or the live stream, whatever. Make sure we got sound and picture. So let's see. We got a comment here that says, Pop, you look like you were in the mob. Now, I don't think that's a nice comment. I think that's a mockery, so no more of that one. Do I listen to Elvis Presley? Well, that's another nasty person. Okay, I'm going to put a couple of fast posts up in the chat, and I mean they'll be fast. Just sit there. You're going to get a lot of news and a lot of insights you're not going to pick up elsewhere, in my opinion. Okay, I'm going to put a couple of fast posts up in the chat. Okay, I'm almost done. I'm going to put my email address up. If any of you want to put in a prayer request, you certainly can post it in the chat. We do quite well with our prayer requests. And you can also email it to me if you want to keep it a little more private. Give me the initials of the person or the persons you want the prayer for. And please don't just say, pray for this person. What do we, I pray for this person. Give us some more specificity, but don't make it, the Gettysburg Address, because it's hard for people to do that. A lot of people are doing other things when they listen to the broadcast. Okay, I'm almost done, guys. Okay, that's the end of that. We're all finished, thank you. And we lost about 7 people. Well, who knows who they are. Okay, I'm going to do some praise, being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. And I didn't forget about God's two sleeper agents in Israel now, and we will get into that later on. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go to my own Telegram site. I have several Telegram sites, or I don't know what you call them, channels. And I put a lot of the details of what I want to talk about in there earlier during the day. I've been working on this for a while. And some of this news is rather serious. I'm going to talk about Ukraine right now. I don't dwell that much on the Ukraine war, as most of you know. I'm here to teach the prophecies of Israel right now. That's right now what I'm doing. And I cover the nations that are affected in this, that are named in the prophecies and so forth. I don't do too much with what's happening in Nigeria or Argentina, you know. But the Ukraine is rather important, so this is what happened recently. The other day, maybe 2-3 days ago, Ukraine had 1,000 square kilometers, not miles. A kilometer is approximately 0.6 or 0.6 of a mile. Okay, they had 1,000 square kilometers. They have since expanded it to 1,250. So rough cut, maybe a 25% increase. Okay. That is substantial. It does not make Putin feel warm and mushy inside. And remember, historically, the way the Russians get rid of a bad leader is, you know, Putin is proving to be a bad leader. In this piece of territory, the whole 1,250 square kilometers that Ukraine's now occupying in Mother Russia land are 92 villages. So these people living in the villages are under the dominion of the Ukraine government. Now, what, NATO soldiers with the Ukrainians? It's rumored they are, and they probably are. American and maybe German, or who knows. Yeah, that's probably true. I don't know for sure, but it probably is. It gets worse for Russia. Ukraine's destroyed 3 critical bridges. I think with drones, I'm not certain, but it's not that relevant. That Russia would need to bring reinforcements in to fight and take this area that Ukraine is occupying back. So this makes the task of recapturing this piece of land, which is substantial, harder for Putin. Now, yeah, he could still air attack, but, you know, he could blow his own villages up. I mean, you know, Putin's not beyond that. Don't kid yourself. Putin's a brutal dog, you know, he'll do anything, you know. So now he's got another problem that developed. Using drones, the Ukrainians just took out a rather substantial oil depot, fuel depot, that Russia had in the area, which is not a refinery, not an oil well, a depot, storage facility. And that is used to refuel his, you know, jeeps, trucks, tanks, etc., right? Generators, all of that. It's a very critical strategic ingredient in war. You need fuel. So now that makes it even harder for Putin to take back this area of land. See, Putin's losing. Putin's losing. Hezbollah is now threatening to attack Tel Aviv with a big missile attack. This morning, they attacked the border area with Lebanon with about 40 missiles. These were not serious missiles, Katyusha type things. The border area with Lebanon is probably about 95% evacuated. So yeah, they could destroy stores, houses, streets. Yeah, for sure. But they're not killing people. Yesterday, Israel's special forces went into Lebanon and did an operation and came back to Israel. The Hezbollah was saying they pushed them back into Israel, which is nonsense. Special forces are not used to take and hold positions. Infantry does that. The Green Berets, maybe in mass, could do something like that, but the Navy SEALs and the Recon Marines, their job is not to hold positions, you know. So yeah, they were never sent into Lebanon to stay there and hold a position. It's absurd. Okay, so Hezbollah is lying again. Netanyahu has to take it seriously, these threats to attack Tel Aviv. Now, what happened last night? Israel went, now let me remind you, Hezbollah's lights are out. 100% of the electricity in Lebanon is out. The story is, in my opinion, the theater of the absurd. They said they ran out of fuel. Why do I think this is absurd? Because when we see this happen in Gaza with Hamas, it's real. They do run out of fuel with hospitals and places like that, and the general electricity. And they announce it. They'll say, we only have enough fuel for 3 or 4 days, so that people can prepare. Okay? Did Lebanon make such an announcement? No. It came as a shock. Do I think this is real? No. Something's going on. Did Lebanon come to Israel and say, we know you're going to take out our electricity, let's do this. We'll shut the electricity off for so many days and don't blow it up. The government of Lebanon, they have a real government, hates Hezbollah because Hezbollah is threatening to have a big war with Israel, which means, and they hide in cities like Beirut, the capital, and, you know, various places in the civilian areas. In the cities, they hide there and build command centers and offices and, you know, weapons depots, etc. So as to force Israel to damage the civilian population, the housing, the stores, the streets, the infrastructure, to get to Hezbollah. In other words, they're scum of the earth, okay? The UN doesn't say anything to them about war crimes. Why? The terrorists are Satan's chosen people. Why are they going to turn against them? So they turn against Israel. So the government of Lebanon doesn't like them at all. They would like to get rid of them, but they're afraid of them. If they bring their army and try to occupy the Litani River south to the border of Israel, which is 17 or 18 miles, the river curves, you know, so the distance varies. They would, and that's what the UN said should happen. Hezbollah shouldn't be in there. And the UN put troops there for many, many years, since 2006. And they are afraid of Hezbollah and do nothing. They just basically hope Hezbollah doesn't kill them. Hezbollah would go after the government of Lebanon if they turned against them. They would go after their children, their wives, everything. Yes. Head cutting off, torture, the whole 9 yards. Okay, that's how they are. They're criminally insane. Okay? Now they think if they win the war, hey, great, we won the war. And then they also think if we get killed fighting the war, well, we're martyrs, we go right to paradise and we collect our 70 virgins. I think inflation hit and it hit 71 virgins or something. I don't know what the number is, but that's the general drill. So they don't care about getting killed. This makes war with them very difficult. And they also consider the civilian population of Lebanon, and for that matter, Gaza, as disposable assets to be used to fight the war against Israel. They don't care about. You see, in Muslim Quran theology, and it may not actually be in the Quran, but in Muslim theology that the Shiites follow, the Israelis are going to get the red heifer. They're going to make the water with the red heifer. They're going to purify themselves. The ultra-Orthodox and probably some of the Orthodox won't go up to where the Dome of the Rock is because they feel that's the real site of the temple, which it isn't. It's perhaps 900 feet or something like that away. Not far, but it's not where the Dome of the Rock is. The wall that they call the Wailing Wall is a wall from Fort Antonius, the Roman fort. Yeshua said that not one stone would be left standing, which I would interpret means the wall too. So by the rabbis doing this, they make Yeshua out to be a false prophet. You got it? Now you're not going to hear this running around in the media. Okay. So they believe that the Israelis will start going up to the Temple Mount, which is what it's called incorrectly, and have the red heifer water, and they're going to be holy, and they're going to say this temple, this Dome of the Rock's an abomination, we got to knock it down, Messiah won't come, and this is up, and this kind of thing. And eventually knock it down and then build a temple there. And they feel that the Messiah of Israel is what they call the Dajjal, which the church world, well, the Dajjal would be what you know to be the Antichrist or the beast. And the Dajjal would tell the Israelis that the Muslims are a false religion and have to be eliminated and destroyed. So they're trying to stop this from happening. That's why they go so nuts when Jews go up to the Temple Mount to pray. Now, most of you probably didn't know this, but that's the reality of it. You can verify this, dig around in Google. All right, so Dajjal, D-A-J-A-L, is their false Messiah that Israel will adapt. That's really some demonic thing. The latest they're talking about now is that Yeshua, well, they say Jesus was a Muslim. The Muslims are starting up with that. Now, the Sunnis don't believe this like the Shiites do, because it's not literally in the Quran, it's in these other books that they have along with the Quran. And they say that it's a bad interpretation, and they don't buy it. All right. A lot of the Sunnis understand that they're half-brothers with the Jews from Abraham, with Sarah, the Jews, and Hagar, the Arabs. Really. So when this is over, you're going to see a lot of Muslims come to the Lord. A lot of them are really Israelites that got pushed into Mohammedanism from, forced conversions, or they were living in a country and they were basically told, you're going to be a slave unless you convert to Islam. And they converted. So you see them coming out from the surrounding countries in the prophecies, and that's some of the explanation. The other explanation could be that they are not from Israel, but when they see the appearing of the Son of Man in the clouds, they submit. All right, back to so that gives you some background as to what's going on. Now, the leaders of these terrorist groups are straight up Satan bots. They just running around saying they're Muslim, okay? Modi's not really a Hindu. He's a Satanist, That's how they work. Okay, so So we attacked in Hezbollah, the Hezbollah missile and weapons storage facilities, big ones. I mean, I put pictures of it up on my Telegram, the destruction. It was huge. And a lot of the missiles went off from the fire and the explosion, I guess. They didn't really go. Maybe they went 100 or 200 yards or something like that. You know, probably the fuel in the rocket or the missile got combusted, you know, caught on fire, and it did a bogus launch or something. It didn't go anywhere, you know, a short distance. I don't know how many of these missiles we destroyed. I'm rather certain it wasn't 25 or 50,000. We hit at least 2 facilities, maybe more, deep in Lebanon. We went deep. And the Hezbollah did not like that. Also, I understand missile launches were taken out. It was quite a night. And remember, Lebanon is still without electricity until they said the 23rd, but it might be the 24th. Anyway, another 3 or 4 days. Now, of all the crazy things I've heard, this one is way up there. Yesterday, Kuwait announced that it is running out of fuel for its electric generators. This is funny, really. And they're doing, what's the right way of phrasing it? Round robin outages of electricity. So what does that mean in baby talk? Well, this city or region in Kuwait's not going to have electricity from 11 o'clock to 6 o'clock. You know, they're rotating it. What's so absurd about this? Kuwait is one of the very wealthy oil producing countries. They're extremely rich. Very wealthy. The leader of Kuwait some months ago suspended the government. They are the biggest dogs you would ever, I mean, they are horrible people. Okay, why America sides with them is the theater of the absurd, you know. It's a monarchy. He calls himself an emir, E-M-I-R, the leader. For you to tell me that they ran out of fuel when they were a big oil producing country? I mean, do you buy that? I don't. What's going on? I don't know. Did somebody take out some of their electric generators and we don't know about it? As far as I know, America has 5,000 troops in Kuwait for some months. They protect Kuwait, which stands against everything America stands for. They still protect Kuwait. The guy suspended the government because he was afraid of, you know, uprising from pro-Iran forces. America didn't bat an eye about that, so he ended the democracy. Well, there never was a real democracy. What is this about? I don't know. To believe that telling the truth is absurd. Kuwait is right on the Persian Gulf near Iran. Now, Iran could have taken out some of their electric generators. Maybe Iran said, we want to put forces in Kuwait. They said no. They said, we'll teach you a lesson, and we didn't hear about it. Maybe Iran moved into Kuwait, and Israel took out some of their electric generators. I can't come up with a reason why Kuwait would shut their own electric generators off, which I think Lebanon did. But it looks like they're doing the same thing as Lebanon. I don't know why. It makes no sense. I don't have the answer yet. Pray we get the answer. There's something very ominous about this. I don't see any possible reason for this, that they're attacking Israel, unless they did let Iran in. They try to be friendly to Iran because they're afraid to have a fight with them. Because while Israel would do some defense against them, Iran could easily hit them with many missiles and take out their oil refineries, their ports, and all this other stuff, their palaces, you know. And Kuwait's probably not that, you know, interested in seeing to what extent the Americans will protect them. 5,000 soldiers in Kuwait isn't much of anything. 50,000 would be relevant. I don't know. Don't know. It'll come out. But don't believe this just happened the way they said it. I can't imagine that. They're in the oil business. They're rich. Why would they let their fuel run out? It's absurd. You see what I'm saying? It's sheer absurdity. I don't know. Maybe they're using that as an excuse so they won't be able to take down Iranian drones and missiles flying over them, trying to hit American positions or something like that. Let me look at a map and see if that makes any sense. Hang on. I know where Kuwait is, but I have to look at missile trajectory path from Iran. See if that makes any sense. It might, but I'm not really high on that theory. That's not a good map. I gotta turn my brightness down on this. I had it set for outside. It's washing out. There we go. Let's see this map. Kuwait's a very small country. I don't think Iran needs, I don't think there's going to be missiles passing over Kuwait. Unless Pakistan decides to shoot missiles towards Israel, that would have some relevance, but I don't see Pakistan in that role right now. So, guys, it's something is up with this. As Sherlock Holmes would say, something's afoot, but I don't know what it is yet. I don't know. Algeria said they would bring fuel to Lebanon to help them if they asked, and I haven't heard Lebanon ask. Algeria is lately very much in bed with Iran, and they practically declared war on Israel. They told their Congress passed something that any time the president of Algeria wants to, he can go to war against Israel. They would have to transport the fuel by the Mediterranean, and it would probably take, I would guess, probably 3 days or something like that. 4 days, You know, they got to load the boat, send the boat got to get there, offload, they got to get the fuel to the electric generator. You know, 3-4 days at best. Algeria said they wanted to pass through Egypt to go into Gaza and build 3 hospitals for the Hamas. And Egypt told them, you don't need us for that, go use the water. You know, it's nonsense. Egypt's not in love with Iran. They're pretty far away from each other, so going to war against each other would have great difficulty for both sides. Let's see. The whole of Kuwait is not without electricity. They don't have enough fuel to power enough generators to provide electricity to the entire nation of Kuwait at one time. So they're taking parts of Kuwait and taking it off the electric grid for a portion of the day. Then it goes on there and it goes off in another area of Kuwait, and that's how they're doing it, like a round robin, okay? So that's the state of the art over there right now. That could change, I don't know. They might be doing that, and then in a day or two they'll announce that they got to make more cuts, and then eventually there's no electricity, and then the only people running around with power are the ones that have solar and personal generators. That could be what they're headed for. I don't know. This is a mystery, but it's a heads up. And remember, around 1990, America went to war against Iraq over Kuwait. Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. Kuwait was the cause of the Iraq War, which America deployed about 1 million troops. They had, I think, 6 aircraft carrier groups there. It was a massive thing. Probably a few thousand tanks. It was huge over Kuwait. I don't know why they just didn't let them have Kuwait. Who the heck cares about Kuwait? You know, they're good for nothing. You know, but I don't know. Jehovah might have a plan. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of lost tribes in Kuwait that don't know who they are. I have no idea. Guys, I'm drawing a blank on this one right now, but pray we get the answer, because something's afoot here. It's not a random event. It's mimicking what Lebanon did. And we may see more of this yet. I don't know. Maybe they're going to say they don't have power and they can't knock down incoming drones and missiles because the power is out, and that way they can't defend Israel. But Kuwait never really said it was going to defend Israel. So I'm at a loss. All right, let's move ahead. So we got a lot of weapons. We're not finished with Lebanon. We keep attacking them, and we're getting more and more. We're doing the, what can I call this? A preemptive attack. We're whittling down the resources, the war resources of Hezbollah to mitigate the damage being done to Israel before we do a ground invasion. And the ground invasion, in my opinion, is going to be above and beyond the Litani River, because they moved north of the Litani River. Now we'll talk about what America was up to in the last night. And it's pretty impressive movement of military resources, I'll tell you that. If Hezbollah can do a big attack on Tel Aviv, which I'm not so sure they can, and it is successful, that will undoubtedly cause a ground invasion, possibly during the attack or immediately thereafter. The power outage has to be affecting Hezbollah. Yeah, they have generators, okay? But I'm sure some of the more sophisticated facilities are using the electrical grid, their command and control centers. So their computer system is out, the internet would be out, I think, the cell phones would be out. They're at a great disadvantage right now. They won't admit it. Three, uno, dos, tres, un, deux, trois, Radstein Shalos. 3 American doomsday planes yesterday left the Washington, D.C. area for their doomsday bunkers. One was in Colorado, they got others. Okay? If I'm going to tell you this is a war drum, I'm underestimating it. The war on Iran is, I think, at the doors. The Lord never says in the Bible, he talks about Elam getting attacked in Jeremiah 49, which is composed of Syria, Iraq, and Iran. He never says, you shall not know the day or the hour when this happens. That's not in there, okay? I don't know the day or the hour. I don't know how to call it. But this is not going to be the enemies of Elam sneak up like a thief in the night. That doesn't, we can talk about this. So I mean, there's no concealment here. This is one of those shouted off the rooftop things, okay? But I don't know the day or the hour. I don't know how the heck to predict that. America might, Israel might, but I don't. But it looks like it's extremely close. We're going to be developing this. Let me tell you what happened. 2 AWACS were also moved to the Eastern Mediterranean in Crete. I believe this was last night or yesterday. An AWAC is like a battle theater command and control center for mostly aerial attacks. It has this big radar dome thing off the roof of the plane, so it can operate radar at distances far greater than a fighter jet can. So it can, at great distances, pick up incoming missiles, planes, and drones and convey the information to the fighter jets. The Muslim terrorist countries, Iran included, don't have anything like this. Forget about it, okay? They know what it is, but they don't got none, okay? And rest assured, these AWACS are not going to be taken down by Iranian ground-to-air missiles. They're going to have all kinds of fighter jets protecting it, countermeasures. No. They ain't taking this thing down. And it operates from far away. It ain't going to fly over Iran or near Iran. It doesn't have to. The plane is full of guys sitting and gals sitting at computers, like a war intelligence center is a good term for it, They likely also help direct missiles and drones that are launched by fighter jets at distances. They could correct their course and stuff like that. They don't like to talk about it, but I believe that's much of what the AWACS do. And they're in the Eastern Mediterranean, so, you have the siren, they run into the plane, they buckle up, they launch, the plane's fueled and ready to go at all times. They launch, and how long would it take them to be effective? I don't know. Immediately, maybe, or maybe it takes 2 hours. I would say that's about it. An hour or two. And these suckers can stay up in the air a long time. Do they have air refueling capability? Probably. I don't know for sure, but I guess they do. But they can stay in the air a long time. They normally don't carry weapons. They might have a few anti-aircraft or anti-missile weapons to defend itself in case, the eggs hit the fan. But it's not an attack craft. this is, you know, is this there to help track missiles for coming into Israel? Unlikely. Unlikely. They don't need it for that. That's not what this is about. This is to wage an aerial attack on Iran and possibly parts of Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Hezbollah, Lebanon. Well, they start bringing AWACS over. You're talking serious. Do they need AWACS for Lebanon? No, I don't think so. Do they need them for the Houthis? No, I don't think so. It's for Iran. Last night, British refueling planes took off from the UK and were refueling some planes over the Atlantic. And then the British refueling planes went back to England. And the planes that they were refueling had their transponders turned off. So we don't know what they are, exactly where they went, but I do not think they're going to Europe. I think it's the Middle East. So there's a bunch of unknown aircraft, we don't know what they are, that got refueled last night going into the Eastern Mediterranean, and I doubt Europe. America's got tons of stuff in Europe. American B-2 bombers were moved last night across the Atlantic. Again, I have trouble they were being moved to the Europe. I believe it's the Middle East. These B-2s are not used to take down incoming missiles or drones. It's a stealth bomber. It's typically not a defensive weapon, it's an offensive weapon. And of course, the best defense is offense, they say in the military. So, this is an offensive weapon. It's extremely potent. America is beyond moving weapons over here to scare Iran. This is getting ready to attack it. It's not a scare. They're concealing what they're doing, you know. Remember I told you the transponders were turned off on a lot of aircraft? They probably are not going to use the B-2 to take out radar. It is more likely going to be used to cause colossal damage, maybe to nuclear facilities. Remember, a big cover story on attacking Iran is going to be to destroy their nuclear facilities because they're threatening America and American forces and American bases. And, oh, we know they'll have nuclear capability in 2 weeks or something, you know, that kind of thing. These things are death from above, these B-2s and B-1s. And Iran, with or without Russian missiles, they ain't taking them down. Now we need to talk about the ceasefire agreement. First thing you need to understand is this whole ceasefire agreement is a sham. All right? And why is it a sham? Moshe, what are you talking about? Well, Biden called ceasefire agreements with Egypt and Qatar the other day. In Qatar, Qatar, whatever, you know, in the Persian Gulf, right? Near Bahrain. And Egypt went, Qatar went, America went, Israel went, and let's talk about, and I think that's it, let's talk about who did not go. Iran did not go, Hezbollah did not go, Hamas did not go, the Houthis did not go. So is this a legitimate ceasefire talk? Come on, how could it be? It's one-sided. It's a sham. Okay? Now, it failed to produce anything in Qatar, so then they met in Egypt, and Biden, after Qatar, revised his ceasefire plan, and Netanyahu is agreed to it. Now, I don't know what the heck it actually said in detail. It's not getting released. I'll find out later in the day or something, but it could be. I'm not paying much attention to it because it's a sham. It's to get ready to attack Iran. It's not real. How can it be real? Hamas said the July 2nd proposal from Biden is what we want to go for. What Hamas wants is simply put this. We're not giving you the names of the hostages, their medical condition, or how many we have before Israel completely removes itself out of Gaza. Stop. What's a possibility? There's now, I think, 33 or 32 hostages unaccounted for that possibly are alive in Gaza. My opinion, it's probably less than 10, maybe none. No proof of life, nothing. These are criminally insane people, like serial killers, but organized. Okay? All right? Now, they take slaves. These hostages were being used as slaves and as whores. They were raping them. Repeatedly, over and over and over. The hostages. They'll probably won't be the same for years. They'll be in therapy. Israel will provide the therapy. They'll give them medicines. But how are you going to come out of that so easily? There's only one way, and that is Jehovah and Yeshua HaMashiach could bring them out of it like that. But other than that, no, I don't think you're going to get out of that one so easily. So they ruined their lives. And they made them work. This has been brought out. The ones that we rescued some months ago were being made, they were staying in private homes and being made to do the housework, cook, clean, things like that. And of course the women, I guess, were meant to be raped. So what if Israel withdraws out of Gaza, and then Hamas comes out very politely and says, we're sorry, we can't find any of the hostages. They were distributed amongst the people in their houses. And apparently Israel's bombing and artillery and bullets killed them all. We don't have any. We're so sorry, we didn't know, and now we can't come up, or they come up with 3. Is it going to be appropriate for Israel to say, well, you broke the agreement, we're going back into Gaza? No, it wouldn't be, because they never agreed to provide any certain amount of hostages. So they could provide, let's say they have 32 and they give 5. That's all we have. So they're going to say we fulfilled it. See, Biden and Netanyahu are not letting him get away with that. We're also not going to withdraw completely from Gaza. That ain't happening. Okay? We're not going to leave the Philadelphia corridor, which is the part of Gaza near Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, where all the smuggling took place of weapons, concrete and steel girders to build all those tunnels. We thought they had 300 miles of tunnels. Now we probably think they got 400 or 500 miles of tunnels. I don't know. We keep destroying more and more tunnels. Sinwar, the head of Hamas now, he's on the endangered species list. He's not long for this world, rest assured. He is not long for this world. I'm going to take a quick break and get another cup of coffee, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to discuss why this ceasefire sham is going to lead to an attack on Iran. So you could get a coffee break too. I'll be right back. So I think we've established that there was no peace talk. It was a sham. How can you have a peace conference where only one side comes? Wake up. Let's talk about Biden's motives as a Satan bot. Biden can do no wrong. He's the chosen people of Satan, you know. So he's not going to, this whole thing, the failure of the ceasefire, cannot be Biden's fault. And he's not going to hand it down and drop it on Netanyahu's head because the claims, well, the demands of Hamas are too absurd. Biden has a strong interest in getting the hostages back, especially the American ones. Some of them have dual citizenship and they're American also. So he's not going to go back and say, well, guys, we called it a day. We can't get this to work. Just let them go destroy each other or whatever, right? No, he's not going to do that. It has to be somebody's fault. So they try to hold ceasefire talks. The Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, all of them, Iran, none of them want to go. They want an end to the war. They don't want to release the hostages. They want Israel to release the 5,000 or 6,000 terrorist prisoners in exchange for the hostages, however many they have or don't have, who will return to Gaza, rejoin the ranks of Hamas or join them. And they want to continue smuggling weapons and tunnel-making supplies in from Egypt and continue killing Israel. They will call it a victory. That's what Iran wants, the Houthis, Hezbollah, the Iran-backed militias in Syria and Iraq. Anything short of that is a failure to Iran. Iran needs her puppets to continue to try to dominate the Middle East. Iran has no substantial navy that's serious, nor do they have any serious air force. And their missiles don't reach that far. So, they need the proxies. Hamas has been disabled. Hezbollah soon to go. And the British and American, many attacks on the Houthis in Yemen have resulted in no further attacks on any ships in quite a few days now. Of course, many ships are detouring around the bottom of Africa. Then Iran started bringing missiles to Sudan, which is higher up on the Red Sea, to interdict shipping. And Russia, working along with them, is building a Navy base there to protect the Sudan from launching missiles, apparently. What else would it be? And they're working with Algeria to do the same thing with the Straits of Gibraltar and stop shipping from going from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean and vice versa. That would break the back of NATO and Europe. These people are insane, okay? Iran gotta go, okay? It gotta go. Now, Netanyahu agreed to a ceasefire, but everybody knows that Hamas isn't going to accept it. So what's the difference? And it did have some provisions that Netanyahu wanted. But they know Hamas isn't going to accept it. And then Blinken comes over here and says, Israel agreed to it, now it's Hamas's turn. Okay? Hamas won't accept it. Now, what does Biden do? Does Biden take his B-1 and B-2 bombers and obliterate Gaza? And then millions of pro-Palestinian people are in the universities and the streets screaming bloody murder, genocide from Biden? No. He's not going to do that. That's idiotic for him. Why is Hamas not taking the deal? Because they think, with the help of the Houthis and Hezbollah, the Iran-backed militias in Syria and Iraq and Iran, that they could supply sufficient pressure to America and Israel to make this come to pass and continue to kill again another day. That's easy to understand. So what America can get away with is attacking the Houthis, which they've done many, many, many times in the past months. Probably in the form of constant vigilance with surveillance craft, drones, planes, trying to see if there's any missile launches and radar being set up by the Houthis and then take it out, which they're already doing. They also look for drone boats and other things. Of course, the Houthis, I believe, can absolutely get away with cutting the internet cables. Child's play. They run all around Yemen. Yemen is Edom in the Bible, which gets destroyed. I believe it's Edom. A lot of people say Edom's in Jordan. I don't believe it, because even when you read Jeremiah 40, it mentions the Red Sea. I believe it's Edom. I believe that's where the Queen of Sheba came from. And the Jews in Yemen came out many decades ago to Israel. All right. So, America is likely going to help. America is likely going to help Israel in a big way against Lebanon. The details I don't have exact yet. America is going to do a tap dance on the heads, on the groups, the Iran-backed militias that are attacking their bases as soon as they rear their head to try it again. So this means that Iran will lose Hezbollah as a proxy. They already lost Hamas. They can't fight. Hamas can't fight. And the Houthis are relatively ineffective. Now we have to ask ourselves, then what? Iran is not going to sit still and lose the proxies, because then it's reduced to a big nothing but a big mouth, terrorist-oriented lunatic asylum. So Iran will try different things, probably all of them. maybe attempting to close the Persian Gulf. Most likely having their militias attack American bases and embassies in Iraq and Syria. That's a given. The Houthis may attack Saudi Arabia and take out the oil refineries. Iran may start attacking the Arab states that said they would take down missiles and drones flying over their airspace to Israel. Iran said if they do that, they're going to treat them as allies of Israel and enemies, and the presumption is attack them. That would be the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. Iran would likely try a missile attack on Israel, a big one, and drones, and try to have Hezbollah do it at the same time to overwhelm on defenses. Iran is sitting there with America having an extensive array of very sophisticated aircraft and 25 or 30 warships. Plus, America has Israel, or Israel has America. They're going to work together against Iran. Biden would not be able to tell Netanyahu, no, you can't participate against Iran. And that would be like Biden telling him he can't go to his own son's bar mitzvah or something like that. If Biden insists, Israel would stand down, but Netanyahu hates Iran. I'm telling you, he hates them. He has a big axe to grind with Iran, and he loves his revenge. So I think it'll start with Hezbollah because they'll want to whittle Hezbollah down so it can't present a serious threat to Israel before they hit Iran. Okay? Now that might happen while the electricity is out, which is until the 23rd of the month. Israel will do a ground invasion and shove them back pretty far into Lebanon, probably beyond the Litani River. America will continue vigilant flights over Lebanon. Anytime missile launches or any activity that's threatening pops up, it'll get bombed or attacked. Lebanon is stupid enough to try to attack Cyprus and Greece and attack American ships in the Mediterranean, which they've already threatened to do, and America is not very happy about that. I wholeheartedly expect in this fracas the Russian Navy base in Latakia, Syria, on the Mediterranean is on the endangered species list, and it will for some reason be destroyed, as is the air base that Russia has there in Latakia, a few kilometers from the Navy base, and they also have a new base in North Syria where the oil fields are, and America was squatting on those until a few days ago when the Syrian regular army took them back. And Russia has a new base over there in the north of Syria, which America won't attack unless Russia rises its ugly head and tries to help when they throw the Syrian army out of the oil fields and stuff. So Israel could likely be used to destroy those bases. Which is no problem for Israel, very easily done. Israel has an axe to grind with Russia for bringing weapons into Iran a few weeks ago. Biden likes payback. I'm not Biden, Netanyahu. That's the only base for ships that Putin has in the Mediterranean. It's of extreme strategic importance in a fight with NATO. It's going to go. Russian troops on the Golan Heights, which are basically military police, they're going to go. There's, I don't know, 300. It's nothing significant. Netanyahu said if a missile launch comes from Iran at Israel immediately, our jets are going to take out Iran's natural gas, their oil industry, the ports and piers that they use to load natural gas and oil onto ships. That will mean Iran has no income, basically, probably for 6 months or a year. Russia right now is in no position to come over to the Middle East and help Iran fight, not with what's going on in Ukraine. If he does it, NATO will say so much the better. Now he's weaker, we could go attack Mother Russia. Or they would actually have Ukraine attack Mother Russia. Then they would go from 1,000 square kilometers to 5,000 or 10,000 square kilometers. Putin's not taking that kind of a chance. Iran is giving Putin short-range missiles. Previously, they gave him a huge amount of drones. This has America and NATO furious because it helps Putin continue the war in Ukraine. It's another reason Iran got to go. Iran wants fighter jets from Russia, and we don't know what the status of that is. I don't believe they have them at all. Getting the jets is one thing, training the pilots to fly them. Russian jets take a long time to learn how to fly. So, I expect to see a pretty big attack on Hezbollah. I expect the Houthis will attack Saudi Arabia if at all they possibly can. I expect Iran will think America doesn't have the guts and launch against Israel. And that will cause an attack, which is in the Bible, Jeremiah 49. It's referred to as Elam, which is Iraq, Syria, and Iran, parts of each, are going to be destroyed so bad by her enemies, in the plural, that the people in these countries got to leave. And they scatter amongst the world, and then the sword chases them. That's what it says. I would think we're days away. America's not bringing a whole lot of aircraft carriers into the theater because the anti-ship missiles from Iran are potent. They don't want to risk it. The aircraft carrier is not in the Persian Gulf anymore, the Theodore Roosevelt. It's down by the Sea of Oman. It's more than likely out of the range of Iranian missiles, anti-ship missiles. There's B-1s, B-2s, F-22 Raptors, F-35, all sorts of stuff. Many, many ships that fire missiles from America are in theater. Iran is about to get a shellacking like it doesn't believe. Scripture. I will do to the heathen like they never heard. Iran falls in that category of Iranian heathen. What will happen is this will cause the launch of the sleeper agents in America. And will probably lead to the events in Jeremiah 50:51 progressing fairly quickly. We see no signs of China coming to the Middle East. That doesn't mean it won't happen. We see no signs of it. I think at this point Putin don't know what to do. Oh, he's going to work up plans and try stuff. But Russia's on its way down memory lane. They pushed things turning against Israel too far when they started giving weapons to Iran to use against Israel and to defend against Israel when they attack Israel. So they're complicit in the pending attack against Israel. So basically, Iran is attacking Israel. Russia is attacking Israel with Iran. Russia wants the sleeper agents to be deployed. Iran wants them. North Korea is a psychopath. He'd probably want anything violent. And China will see this as a golden opportunity and go for it. Remember the shooting attack on the Air Force Base in Texas the other day. They come in a car at 2:15 a.m., shoot at the security guards, get away. The car doesn't get caught. They come back at 4:30 and they do it again. China has up to 350,000 acres of land, much of it adjacent to American military bases. So they probably drove into Chinese land, hid the car in a barn or a garage, had themselves a celebration. The helicopters went away. Things calmed down. They took the car and went back to the same gate and shot at the guards again, and then got away a second time. Having old law enforcement experience when I was younger, I'm telling you that them getting away twice would only mean to me there's some land there owned by China that they went on to hide, or they had control of some building there. Something's up like that. Only Muslim terrorists would come back a second time and do it. They were probing the base. Chinese, Russian, North Korean soldiers would have taken a tactical position towards this. They probed the base. With the attack, they'd get away and they would never come back a second time. That breaks all the military tactical rules. That's stupid. You don't do that. You would assume that they beefed up security at the gate, which I believe they did. Now, you could think, oh, they'll never be expecting a second attack 2.5 hours later. And that's true. But what's the purpose of it? You already probed them. Why go back and do it again 2 hours later? What are you accomplishing? See, there's not much of a goal there. No tactical or strategic goal, maybe psychological, but that's something the Muslims will do. Not something the Green Berets or the SEALs or Recon Marines would do. It makes no sense, that's why. Let me check the chat, see what's going on. Gog Magog might be geography pertaining to Russia, but it's not called Russia in the prophecies, is it? No. Yeah, rolling blackouts, there you go. I was calling it a round table, rolling, yeah. There is no 1/3 of the American Navy in the Middle East. The American Navy is 475 ships. The most they have here is 30. Forget that. A lot of idiots are posting that, dude. That's stupid. They don't need that many warships anymore. They're bringing the planes in. See, doing a ground invasion in Iran would require a massive amount of troops. They're not interested in that. They're going to bust them out. America might say, well, sanctions didn't work. Iran's still selling their oil all over the place and using the money to fund terrorism, so let's blow their refineries up. Oil prices will spike crazy when that happens. Gold broke 2,500. This morning it was slightly over 2,500. Now the nations will try to suppress the price and drive it back. 2,500 is a pressure point or a psychological barrier. When it gets over 2,500, people are going to be smelling 3,000. Correctly, I might add. If prophetic time allows for it. So they will suppress it back under 25 if they can. But as these events unfold in the coming days, it'll break. If it broke it once, it'll break it again. When it gets to, I would say, around 2650, it's not going to go back under 25, and a lot of people are going to be thinking it's going to go to 3,000 and above, and it probably will, if prophetic time allows. So silver was just a few cents under, 30, 40, 50 cents or something, under 30 when I checked this morning. That's another breaking point when it goes over 30. Silver has the potential to go from 30, to 90 or 150 or something like that. Because, see, with gold, you got a lot of problems. I'll explain this. At 2,500, what are people going to do? Most people can't even afford to buy an ounce. So they'll buy fractional coins, and that could work. But they're also going to be thinking about silver, which you could buy silver dollars. I guess they'll sell them to you for $30, or they'll have a premium because it's a currency or something. When gold starts to go, it's not going to stop at 3,000. It's probably going to go to 5,000 or 6,000 or even higher. So if gold goes from 25 to 5,000, it doubled. But that's a big journey for gold. But for silver to go from 30 to 90, tripling, is not a big journey at all. Also, you might find that when you go to your pawn shop or your coin dealer and you want to buy gold, they don't have any. And you're also going to find that gold is going to be selling over the spot price. So if you go in and the spot price is, $29.50, the guy might tell you he wants $32.50. You don't want it, go buy it. If you change your mind, come back. I'm here. Nicely say, okay, and that's it, because he doesn't have much gold to sell. Gold starts going on a climb, there's going to be a lot of buyers and no sellers. People are going to be holding on because they're going to go higher. Now, a lot of people will go into the commodity markets and buy paper gold, which is garbage. You're speculating on the price of gold, but you don't have any precious metal in your hand. If the internet goes out or something like that, you got nothing. So you have to have the real metal. You can pick it up, put it in your teeth and bite it like Long John Silver or something like that. You got to have the real metal. Let's go to Star Trek for a minute as a joke, okay? Let's say we'll go to Next Generation. A lot of you are probably not old enough to remember Captain Kirk. Let's go to Captain Picard. So the Romulans and the Klingons are having a war. And, Captain Picard wants to negotiate. Starfleet Command has told him to negotiate a peace deal between the Klingons and the Romulans, okay? So the Romulans say, okay, we'll attend the peace deal. That's Israel. I'm just making an example. And the Klingons say, no, we're not coming. So now Captain Picard and the head of the Romulans make out the terms of a peace deal and agree to it. Is that a peace deal, or is that an ultimatum given to the Klingons? Well, it's an ultimatum. Really, that's what's going on. If that helped you any. I think this whole October 7th thing was begun to get Israel mad, start the wars, and eventually open up the door to get rid of Iran. And part of the alibi, if not the whole alibi, is going to be Iran's nuclear capability. I don't know how long the proposed peace deal is, but it did have a component that it wasn't a forever deal. I think. I haven't read the latest version. I will later in the day, but it's a waste of time. It's, first of all, It's either going to be just rejected by Hamas, which I'm most certain is going to be the outcome, or it would be counter negotiated by Hamas, which I don't think they're going to do. They keep saying the July 2nd deal is what we want, which is absurd. So they're not going to change their mind. Sinwar, the new head of Hamas, is thinking that Hezbollah attacks on Israel are going to bring Israel to her knees. He was thinking the Houthi attacks on the shipping would do the same. Obviously, that didn't work out for the Houthis. And now he's thinking a missile attack on Israel will bring their freedom if Iran launches. And if the Iran-backed militia groups, the terrorists in Iraq and Syria, attack the American bases, all of them, it will also bring about an end. And they're wrong. They're just wrong. Okay, that's that. So get ready for it. Iran will get obliterated. They will have to leave Iraq, Syria, and Iran. Remember, Damascus shall be a ruinous heap, and all of that, right? Lebanon, open up your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. Let me give you another prophecy for Lebanon. I'm going to check this. My supermarket shorted me on my order yesterday, so I wrote a letter to them, told them what was shorted, and they're usually pretty nice to me about that. That was just an ad. When we get there, they sent me another message. Hold on. It's pretty unusual for that to happen. I have another order coming down the road. We probably will just throw it in there. No, they haven't done that yet. No. I wrote them in English, so they're probably going to get it translated or something. Last time, I don't think they said anything. They just sent it. All right. Checking mine. Okay, let me find that scripture. Oh, I forgot. We got some prayer requests and toss requests. All right, for SB, Sierra Bravo, SB, Sierra Bravo, SB, healing and pain relief for SB, prayer for healing and pain relief. Okay, for DSS, Delta Sierra Sierra, DSS, Delta Sierra Sierra, DSS. Prayer for healing from a spider bite. My understanding, it was a bad bite. So healing for DSS from a spider bite. And we have a toss request for LK Lima Kilo. LK Lima Kilo toss request. Toss salad. Someone wants me to cover the 144,000 again in Revelation, and I will. I've just been pretty involved with all this war stuff, but I'm going to get to it. Ezekiel 28, verse 20. This is Lebanon. Ezekiel 28, verse 20. Again, the word of Jehovah came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Zidon, and prophesy against it, and say, Thus saith, this is Lebanon, and thus saith Adonai Jehovah, Behold, I am against thee, O Zidon, and I will be glorified in the midst of thee, and they shall know that I am Jehovah. In the Hebrew, if you're interested, it comes out like this: Ani Jehovah. Ani means I, and Jehovah is Jehovah. Ani Jehovah. When I shall have executed judgments in her, for Lebanon, and shall be sanctified in her, because they shall know he is Jehovah. For I will send into her pestilence. Now, that's not, I don't think, the right word. Let me get it. It's the bear. Let me get this, because I think it just means a hit. Destroying. Yeah, it's a hit. You see, the 10 plagues on Israel is not translated correctly. It's a hit. Like, that's a hit, right? So, I will send into her hits, destruction hits, right? And blood into her streets. For them. And the wounded shall be judged in their midst. In the midst of her, by the sword upon her on every side. I don't think we're going to be the only ones hitting them. And I think we'll have help. And they shall know, and that word is Yodah, know. See, they say, and they shall know. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 words for one word. See, they screw it up all the time. It's saying no. Then it's saying key. That could mean that. Ani Jehovah. So if I was going to put it, I was going to say, they'll know that he is Jehovah. God, And there shall be no more a pricking briar into the house of Israel. Well, is Lebanon not a pricking briar? Of course it is. Nor any grieving thorn of all that are round about them. Well, who does that mean? That means Lebanon, Gaza, Jordan, I think, eventually gets it. Syria, Iraq. We might see Turkey and Iran in this mix. I don't know yet. Iran, yeah. That are round about them, Israel, that despise them. And they shall know that I am Jehovah. See, this is the end of the 2,000-year punishment on Israel in Hosea 6, 1 and 2 that the church never teaches you about, and I don't know why. I'll read it for you in a minute. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, when I shall have gathered the house of Israel from the people among whom they are scattered, and shall be sanctified in them in the sight of the heathen, then shall they dwell in their land that I have given to my servant Yaakov. See, he's referencing they can't keep the land. Lebanon's ours. They can't keep the land. Jehovah's not going to have any part of it. And they shall dwell safely therein, and shall build houses and plant vineyards. Yea, they shall dwell with confidence when I have executed judgments upon all those that despise them round about. There you go. Is that not what I'm teaching? Round about them, and they shall know Ani Yehovah Elohim. They'll know that I'm Yehovah their God. No, it doesn't say their God. They added that in. It says, they shall know that Ani Yehovah Elohim. They're going to know Yehovah is God. All of them are going to get it. Psalm 2. And it's at the doors. Let's read Psalm 2. A Psalm of David, it's pronounced David, by the way. O Yehovah Elohim, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. See, his name is not excellent now, right? But it will be. Ani Yehovah. Now, we know he's Yehovah. He's not dropping on us. And if you're a true believer in Yeshua HaMashiach, you will be in the next great exodus to Israel and live in this soon-to-be wonderful, fantastic, best country in the world. It's not that way now, but it will be. And you'll be here. Yeshua calls you his brethren, right? How could you not be Israel? All Israel shall be saved. Who would set thy glory above... Okay, I left some now. How excellent is thy name in all the earth, who has set thy glory above the heavens. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength, because of thine enemies, that thou mightest still the enemy, the avenger. See, the avenger is like a revenger. When I consider, I'm sorry, I didn't do it. My iPad jumped chapters. So let me get back. Sorry about that. I was wondering why I never remember reading this. Okay, we'll start again. Psalm 2. Sorry about that. Psalm 2:1. I don't know how that happened. Sorry. Why do the heathen rage? Maybe I did that because God wanted you to hear that, huh? Sounds like a good theory. It was Psalm 8 I was reading. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Well, that's what's going on now. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers of the council together, against Jehovah and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder. So that means we basically fall apart. What's holding us together falls apart. And cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. Let's check that word, right? It's Shakak, Strong's number 7832. It could mean mock them. See, let me give you an example of mocking God and he returns the favor. At the Democratic National Convention, Biden had the rabbi that belongs to the American government and works for them or something do the priestly prayer at the Democratic National Convention. Now, God knows Biden is mocking him. Many of you don't, some of you do. And God cannot be mocked. That was a mockery. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. Jehovah shall have them in derision. Adonai shall have them in derision, it says, sorry. Derision is, he's going to ridicule them, mock them. You're going to see this when Yeshua appears in the clouds, seated on the right hand of power, which is Jehovah, appearing like the lightning from the east to the west. They're going to freak out. Every eye shall see him. Revelation 1:7. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them. You know, why they twisted this word vex, I don't understand. I do understand, but it's so stupid. It's Strong's number 926 in the Hebrew. It's Baal, not Baal, Baal. It Strong's puts it like this: tremble, to tremble. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall have them in derision, then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and tremble them in his sore displeasure. They will be trembling. Now where do we see this? See, this is my job, the prophecies of Israel. Zechariah 12:2. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about. So the ones that are surrounding us in the siege against Israel, Judah, and Jerusalem, which is very much ongoing now, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iran, Iraq, Syria, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. So there's your trembling. You see it tying in. Psalm 2, we'll go back. The last verse is pretty cool. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. Jehovah hath said unto me, Thou art my son this day, have I begotten thee. Ask of me, I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, the heathen, not Israel. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O you kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Remember the ICJ with arrest warrants for Israel and all that? Okay, judges of the earth, huh? Serve Jehovah with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish from the way. When his wrath is kindled but a little, blessed are all they that put their trust in him. Do you put your trust in him? Yeah, I think a lot of you do. See how you pick the pieces up like this? And how nicely it fits together when you do it right? Why doesn't the church teach you this stuff? Well, ask yourself. Search yourself for an answer. Search for the answer. Ask Jehovah for the answer. I don't want to cram the answer down your throat. I know the answer, but I'm not going to cram it down your throat. Alright, I'm going to take a fast break and we're going to discuss who are God's two sleeper agents in Israel now. Who are they? I'll be right back. Yes, God has two sleeper agents here, and I'll get into it with you. see Iran, North Korea, China, Russia, Hezbollah, Hamas, PIJ, Al-Fatah, and all these lunatics have sleeper agents in America waiting to attack. God doesn't work with big numbers in the millions. He has 2 sleeper agents in Israel waiting to attack and to bless. And these are the 2 witnesses. One is Elijah, it says that. And the other is Apostle John. He was told, you must prophesy before many peoples. And that hasn't happened again, and that hasn't happened yet. And when Yeshua was with the disciples, he said, there be some, and they translate that wrong, it means someone, one, among you who shall not taste of death until they see the kingdom of God. That's Apostle John, the beloved, who Yeshua loved. And Apostle John, his writings were different than the other apostles, weren't they? The book of John doesn't read like Luke, Mark, and Matthew doesn't know. And 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, it's a little different, and Revelation is extremely different. See, the letters to the churches are not really prophecies, nor is the Gospels. But Revelation was prophetic. There you have it. Remember what it says, speaking of Yeshua, whom the heavens must receive until the restitution of all things. Are all things restored right now? You gotta be kidding me. Why does the church teach the rapture could come any minute? Ask yourself. Psalm 110:1. The Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. You think Yeshua's enemies are made his footstool now? Trying to wipe Israel off the map? You think that? I don't. Ask yourself why they teach that. Why did Yeshua 4 times say the rapture comes on the last day? Which means there's no more days. You think I'm crazy and it's not in the Bible? I'll read it to you 4 times. I'll read it to you. Okay, 4 times. Then you do me a favor and ask yourself and ask Jehovah why the church doesn't teach you this. John, back to John again. 6, verse 39. And this is the Father's will. This is Jehovah's will, which had sent me, that of all which he hath given me, I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. So Yeshua said all the believers that his Father gave to him, remember, no man could come to Yeshua unless the Father draw him, all get raised up on the same day on the last day. Which means there's no more days, which is after the millennium, after Satan's release and so forth. Why do they teach you it can happen any day when it contradicts what Yeshua said? You answer that. I'm not cramming it down your throat. Then he says it again in the next verse, 6:40. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Raise him up at the last day. Now, there's no left behind rapture according to Yeshua. But why does he say those that look upon him will have everlasting life? Because it's true. And when is this going to happen? It's going to happen in Zechariah 12. I'll read it to you. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplications. Now they're believers. He poured his spirit out on them in Israel. Now what happens? And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced. And they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. That didn't happen in Israel. It says all the tribes of Israel mourned for Yeshua. That never happened when they killed him. And Zechariah 12's well advanced at this point in time. It's approaching the end. And what happens at the end of Zechariah 12? We'll roll up a few verses to Zechariah 12:6. And you see God's sleeper agents pop out and kick it into gear. In that day, remember it's that day, that I believe this is the day of vengeance, will I make the judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall burn up all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall remain still in her own place, even in Jerusalem. I'm correcting the translation for you because the English is screwing it up on purpose. Slightly. If that's not the two witnesses, who the heck are they? Who has fire coming out of their mouth? Why doesn't the church teach you this? Why do they tell you it's going to happen in Gog and Magog only then? Why don't they teach you that they're the sons of God that came down to earth just like Yeshua, but not the firstborn, which is obvious in Zechariah 4:14, which I should read to you again. I read it yesterday. I'll do it again. Well, we'll start in, I think, 12, I think. And I answered again and said unto him, what be these two olive branches which through the two golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves? And the golden oil is the olive oil, which represents the anointing. And he answered me and said, knowest thou not what these be? And I said, no, my Lord. And then said he, it's no, my Adonai, Lord. Sometimes in Israel people might call their employer or landlord Adonai. Okay. Then said he, these are the two anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth. Now it doesn't say exactly what they say. They left the word out, which is in all the Hebrew manuscripts, and it reads Shnaim B'nai Yitzhar. Shnaim is two, B'nai is sons, Yitzhar is the golden clarified oil, which means the anointing. That part they got right. Two anointed sons. What does Yeshua's name is Yeshua, which means something in English like provider or giver of salvation. Yeshua, the root word is salvation, save. And what does HaMashiach mean? Ha means the, Mashiach means the anointed. It's not his last name. Like Joe Biden, Biden's last name. It's not a last name. It's saying Yeshua, the given, it's saying the anointed giver of salvation. It's the firstborn son of God. He's the only begotten. He's the only one that was begotten this way of a woman in the Holy Spirit. That's what that means. Because he also refers to Yeshua as his firstborn. Why would he call him firstborn if he didn't have any other sons? He would just say, this is my only son. He does say, this is my only begotten son. Why doesn't the church teach you this? You should ask yourself. If I shove it down your throat, you're not going to like it. The Biden proposed peace deal, as I know it, is temporary. And it would allow Israel to reattack Hamas if they did certain things, I understand, or go back in or something, and they're not going to sign it. Okay, it's a put-on job. They know where they're going with this, and Netanyahu's playing along with it, and they're playing along with Netanyahu. Look, Iran cannot possibly, in any way, shape, or form, defend themselves against the United States. and her allies. Remember, it says in the prophecy, the enemies will get her, not just America. They can't defend themselves. They don't have what it takes. Okay, but you must understand, these people are drinking the cup of the Lord. They're crazy. They're under delusions. They're going to be destroyed. They hate Jehovah. They hate Israel. What's God's plan? To run the world through Israel serving him. And Iran's going to defeat God's plan along with Hezbollah, Hamas, and the rest of the thugs? Yeah, sure, right? No. Perhaps you think nukes are going to hit Israel and it's going to glow in the dark for 40 or 50 years and there's going to be a huge gap in profit. That's not in the Bible. Forget about it. There's a curious scripture about Israel getting damaged. Very curious. I should read it to you. Isaiah 61:4. At least I think it's Isaiah 61:4. Let's see. And they shall build the old wastes. The old waste is the waste places that have been destroyed for a long time. They shall raise up the former desolations. Again, the old desolate places get raised up. And they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. The old stuff. It's not talking about the new stuff being destroyed, is it? Nuh-uh. So I can tell you the two witnesses are here in Israel. Apostle John's not working yet. And Elijah is, but not openly. And soon. Soon. We seem to see them in operation before the appearing of the Son of Man. Well, we see Elijah. It says Elijah shall come first. We see him working in Malachi 3, training the Levites and burning the dross out of them so they make the sacrifices acceptable unto the Lord. Now, if they already saw the Son of Man in the clouds, they would have the law in their heart. They have a heart of flesh, and they shall all know them from the least to the greatest. And since that doesn't seem to have already happened, because I don't think Elijah would be needing to train them in these matters if that was the case, if they knew the law. Now, the precise methodology of doing the sacrifices and stuff is important, and it's in the Torah, but what he's training them is to be acceptable unto the Lord, to be righteous. That will make the offerings acceptable. They can't be hypocrites and two-faced and all that. Okay? So you're going to see, in my opinion, as I see it, the view from me is Iran will get it with Iraq and Syria and the other jerks, I'm sure, too, before America goes. What's going to happen to Russia in a nutshell? I would say it's doom and gloom. It's already coming on them. Isn't it just crazy that Ukraine keeps conquering more and more land of Russia? Is that normal? Is that something you would expect? No. And keep expecting more unexpected, unusual events in these latter days leading up. You're going to probably see more and more twists and turns of things you never would thought would ever happen. there may not be a winner between Ukraine and Russia. They both may just destroy each other pretty good. Both of them were pretty bad to the Jewish people throughout history. God says in Jeremiah 30:11, He will destroy all the nations that He scattered the Israelites into. And I would think that means over time, over many, many centuries. And that's got to be 125 nations. Definitely Ukraine and Russia. Oh, my neck got really a lot better. I asked you to pray for that. And there's not much pain left anymore, but it's still kind of tight. It's not back where it is, but it probably will be shortly. So if you want to pray again for my neck to finish healing quickly, I wouldn't mind it at all. So I think that I've accomplished what I was trying to accomplish today. Let me check my notes. So I covered a massive amount of things that are going on right now. Let me, let me read you a verse before we go. Exodus 20, I think it's verse 8. Remember, no, do I go above that? Hold on. Hang on, I want to translate a word here. Okay, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall thy labor and do thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Jehovah Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Jehovah made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Jehovah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it, made it a special holy day. In Hebrew, the days of the week have numbers except one day. Yom Rishon means the first, the head of the week or the first. That's Sunday. Then the days get numbered. Friday is Yom Shishi, which means 6. The days begin, let's just say sundown. It's not really, it's the mixing of the day and the night when the shadows are long and stuff, but we'll say sundown to make it easy. It's sort of, it's a little before sundown hits. Okay. And then the day starts at that Erev, which the word for evening in Hebrew is Erev. It means a mixing of the day and night. The Arab language in Hebrew is called Aravi. Aravi. It means the mixing. What is the mixing? Abraham and Sarah was not a mixing, but Abraham and Hagar was a mixing. Got it? Aravi. Okay, so Erev is evening, and Lila is night in Hebrew. So at the Erev, is when the day changes. So we would say in English like Friday at sundown or something, you know. We go into Shabbat. That's the only day with a name. The first day is Sunday. Rosh means first, or the head. Okay, the start, the beginning. Okay, it's not a name, it's a designated number. The word Rosh can apply to many things. So it's not, you know, something giving the day Sunday a name. It's okay. So why did the church move it to Sunday? Well, I could go out and tell you, gee, if Satan wanted people to worship the sun god Tammuz, whose birthday was December 25th, what day would he have the people worship him on? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or perhaps Sunday? But that would be cramming it down your throat, and I don't like cramming it down your throat. There's no place in the Bible for moving the Shabbat. No place. Go find it. It's not there. You can't find it. Okay? It's like going along and say, Mickey Mouse is one of the two witnesses. Well, I would just say, where in the Bible does it say that? It doesn't. So where in the Bible does it say that the Sabbath is supposed to move to another day? It can't be moved. It's a falsehood, and it's a serious one. Why do they do this? Christmas means Mass for Christ. You know what? It comes from the Catholic Mass. Mass, if you read it and study it in Google, which if you take the time you can, when they take the wafer and whatever, the grape juice or the wine, whatever the heck they're using, they believe this, that the Messiah is dragged down against his wishes or not from heaven to be re-crucified again for the sins of that person that took Mass. So in a church of 300 people taking Mass, they're teaching and believing that Yeshua is dragged down from heaven 300 times and re-crucified. And if 1 million people do it, well, they're re-crucifying him 1 million times. Do you still want to celebrate Mass for Christ, Christmas, on the sun god Tammuz's birthday, December 25th? Yeshua wasn't born December 25th. He was the Lamb. He would have been the firstborn of the Lamb, probably late February, very early March, not December. Remember, they stayed in a manger with him. He was the Lamb of God. You get it? Manger, Lamb of God, blah, blah. You got it? You got it? Okay. So, who was Tammuz, the December 25th birthday sun god's mother? Esther, Easter. I'm not going to cram it down your throat. Ask yourself why they teach this. What's going on? Think about it. Very seriously, time is short. I'll see if I have questions in the chat. You can email me questions too. You know, don't ask me for a 5-hour Bible study. You know, I'm an old guy and this knocks me out. I get up early, usually at 5. Today I got up at 6:15. Not that it didn't feel good, it felt real good. I was real happy with that. I did some of my red light therapy in the late afternoon yesterday, and it made me sleep better or something. I was pretty happy about that. So I usually, you know, put in about 7 hours, and then I kick back for the rest of the day. That's it for this old guy. And the Lord, you know, that's it. Unless something really major is happening or he has some special Bible work for me, which is not very often, it's very unusual. It does happen, but not often. I just try to keep myself amused, which is difficult in this heat. When the weather's more tempered, I go hang out outside with the dogs, and that's kind of fun. I like that. But when the weather's horrible and I go outside, after about 15 minutes, I start feeling, like, ugh, let me go guzzle some water and get back in the air conditioning. That's what I do. Pretty soon the temperature will modulate down and the cold and the wet won't come. And that'll be nice. I get outside time more. I love sitting outside. The house has front yard, backyard. We got gardens, fruit trees all over the place, and it's nice. I mean, I like being outside. The houses in Israel are not like houses in America. I don't think you would like them. I don't prefer them. They normally do not have closets. Think about that. The rooms are rather small. The kitchens are tiny, which means heat. Central air conditioning, normally you don't see it. You see splits, they're called, the air conditioners in each room. So you gotta walk around turning them on. And they're all hung up on these remote controls for the air conditioner. I can't stand them. I just like the old air conditioners where you had a dial and you had it as red and blue, and you can make it go heat or cold. You could turn it over, and then you had another dial with, it would be light, medium, and high, and you had 3 speeds. I like that much better. These things have a thermostat with a temperature you can put in. I don't care for it. But I gotta live with them. And we got a bunch of them, and they're not a lot of fun. But they work great, and they're very ecological. They use very little power compared to the old ones. And, there's no insulation in the houses. They're all concrete floor with tile, no wall-to-wall carpeting. Now, what that means is when you live with wall-to-wall, you at times in your life will drop things and they won't break. In Israel, you will drop things and they will hit the tile and they will break. And the walls are concrete block, the ceilings are concrete with tile. So the whole place is concrete. Now, in the summer, that works in your favor because it brings the temperature down. In the winter, you can't talk to the concrete and say, hey, concrete blocks, now it's winter, so don't reduce the temperature. So it gets colder in the house than it does outside. So then you got to use these heaters. So you can make your air conditioners blow hot air. Just turn the thermostat up. And that costs you a pretty good amount of money usually. And I don't think it's that effective, and it dries the air out. The other thing we do, which I prefer, is they have these electric coil heaters, and you just put those on and sit near them. And they tend to work okay. We don't, in my area, we don't get snow or ice or freezing temperature. You can go 10 years, 5 years without ever having a period of time where it goes under 32. Usually it won't go under about 39. Going under 40 is pretty unusual. Okay, usually you're in the 40s at night in the dead of the winter, and you're in the high 50s to the 60s, low 60s during the day, but it's wet outside and it rains a lot. That's your rains, and they're not all that pleasant. Your latter rains come around November, and your early rains come around March. So it's believe me, it's hard living here. Add into that terrorists, missiles, rockets, threats of invasion, infiltration. It's a very, very, very rough place to live. Okay. the weather is good in the fall and in the spring. I have seen, I think the last 2 years, the fall was rather long. Like we would get 10 weeks out of it. And those days are really nice. And the winter gets so bad, what I usually do when I go outside is I'll wear a pair of Levi's with an insulated lining, a heavy insulated lining, okay? And then I'll wear a t-shirt and I'll put a thermal shirt on and I'll put a heavy jacket on and I'll wear a hat. And I have been known to even go sit outside with gloves. It's a cold, damp, biting cold. And hopefully we won't have any more weather like that. I hope when we hit redemption. Israel's not going to get any land back until we hit redemption. In the year of redemption, every man gets his inheritance back, including you that are in Yeshua. You will get a piece of the land as well, for free, no mortgage, and when you come over here and be reunited with his family. That's going to happen when we hit redemption. We're still in recompenses. I don't have any exact dates. Redemption appears to start with the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man, and we're not going to know the day or hour. So it could be this week, it could be next month, the month after. I don't think it's going to go very long. But we're never going to know the day and the hour, and don't try. That's like banging your head against the wall. It's stupid. Doesn't make any sense. So my wife keeps doing all this. My wife's an unbelievable cook. She could cook. I don't think she can cook as good as a Michelin star restaurant, which is exceptionally extraordinary, and there's very few of them, but I think she can cook as well as a lot of high-end restaurants. As good. She gives me this cup yesterday in the late afternoon or the evening, in the evening. She made some kind of amazing chicken soup with real mushrooms and chicken stuff, and I don't know how she did it. I mean, she told me, and I just, so when she gave it to me, it was extremely hot, like when you put it on the cup on your lips, it hurt, you know, and I sipped it, it was unbelievable. So I left it on the table. I was outside with the dogs for a few hours, and then I came back in, and it was still warm. You know, it doesn't cool off, you know, so it was still warm, and I was going to dip some bread in it and eat it, but I didn't wait. I just wanted it. It tasted so good, I drank it right then and there. And she makes all this stuff for me, you know, cookies, and she's canning stuff like crazy, you know. I have a feeling we're not going to need it at all, but we don't care because we just eat it up for regular food rations, that's all. That's all. Just eat it, you know. One of the areas Israel excels in is cheeses. I'm not kidding. They got cheese here like you wouldn't believe. They got every kind of cheese you ever heard of, plus a lot more. Bulgarian cheese, I mean all kinds of cheeses. I've lived here for many years. I never even tried all the cheeses, you know. They're so good, you know. They're really good. They're really good. See, you don't kosher cheese. I mean, you know, the rabbis make it kosher and they do a seance over it or whatever the heck they do to make it kosher, but you don't have to wash it and put salt on it and then wash it again and put salt on it like they do with the meat and ruin the meat. I think that's a cruel joke to the Israelis. It makes the meat taste like garbage. So we buy the meat from the Arabs, and they don't kosher it. And there's no halal in Israel. They don't allow it. It's too brutal animals. So we use the, you know, they were always trying to brutalize and kill something. They thrive on that. So we buy it from them, and the meat tastes like pretty good meat, you know. Good, actually very good. So we've canned some meat, not a lot, and fruits. We get charity handout fruit and vegetables. It's actually better than the stuff you buy in the supermarket. You get the high-end fruit and vegetables that they don't really sell in my area. They sell it in Tel Aviv, Herzliya, Caesarea, Jerusalem, where the wealthier people tend to congregate. And they don't sell all that stuff out, so it winds up going to charity instead of discounting it and giving it to the stores that sell the low-end fruit. Would stop the people from buying the low-end fruit, so they just give it to charity. So the stuff's better than what you get in the stores, plus we get it for free. It's a little bit of a hassle to go get it, but not that bad. Well, that's what we do. And we're not rich. Offerings do not, come in very easily. You see, the lying ministers and preachers that are on the internet don't rely on offerings because very few people would give. They sell things. They sell books and DVDs, which is against the scriptures. Freely you have received, freely you shall give. You take a free will offering. You don't put a price tag on things. That's against Jehovah's ways. If you had an anointing and you did that, it would be gone. God does not let one make merchandise out of his people. But these are not his people. So they get away with it for a while. They're going to keep going till they hit the brick wall, and they're making a mockery out of God by doing this, and then God's going to mock them very shortly. You'll see it. You'll actually see it too. It's not going to be that. I think you'll see a lot of it. You'll soon see the difference between those that serve God and those that don't. Right now we're poor and downtrodden because the Satan bots keep us that way on purpose, and it's going to reverse. Most of them won't be alive anymore, but they'll the ones that manage to stay alive are not going to be happy campers. The ones that don't in the pit are not going to be happy campers either. So America's moving sophisticated aircraft into the Middle East very rapidly, like last night. Believe me, Blinken, Netanyahu, Biden, they all know Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, they're not going to accept this ceasefire. And they're blaming it already on Hamas. Blinken, who's over here now, I think he's still here, said Israel accepted it, now it's Hamas's turn. As if somebody put America in charge over Hamas. Well, Hamas doesn't believe America's in charge over them. They're not going to play with that. So Biden's not going to be saying, well, we tried, folks. I can't do nothing, so we're just going home. No, he's going to play wipeout on their head. With Israel, probably. But Lebanon's something different. See, the Hezbollah down in the south are not near any civilians for, protective barriers, hiding behind humans. Because they've all evacuated the south of Lebanon. So Biden could freely go in there and start blowing stuff up. He don't care about property damage. Human shields work, but not in South Lebanon, further up. They're going to take a bad hit in Lebanon. And whatever the U.S. and U.K. have been doing to knock out radar and missile launches in Yemen, it's working. Either that or there's no more ships in the Red Sea, but I think it's working. So it's going to go down. It's going to go down. And I'm pretty sure then comes the sleeper agents. And when you see that, it means we're very, very close to the second Exodus appearing in the sun at the end, where it already happened. Probably when the second Exodus starts, I think that would have already happened. So, I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife for peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for our finances. It's always an issue here in Israel. Everything is so expensive. Pray for better videos. Pray for our animals and pets, that they be happy, healthy, and whole, and not sick, ill, or hurt. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. I said that. And make sure you subscribe if you want to get fast updates when the eggs hit the fan, because I am in the habit of doing multiple live streams a day at odd hours of the night and day, and you'll get notified of it if you click the notifications bell. And it'll take you 2 seconds. Please hit the like button. It helps apparently with the algorithm with YouTube. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I hope you got something out of this. And, don't take my word for it. Ask Jehovah about these things I told you to question. Ask him. Now we're approaching 3 hours. It was a little longer than I wanted. Okay, kids, I'm out. Thank you.